The Magic Teapot by Phyllis Bryant. This is a story about an old lady who really had plenty of money, but was very mean and miserable. She would sit by her fire and make herself a pot of tea, and when a neighbour called in to say, "How do you do?" she would quickly hide the teapot in the oven, as she was much too mean and unkind to share her tea with everybody. One day she had been in such a hurry to hide her pot of tea that she dropped it, and it broke in a dozen pieces all over the floor. What a mess it was! Tea and china all mixed up. The old lady was very annoyed, as she knew she must use some of her money to buy a new teapot. Away she went to market, and very cross she was too. She argued with the man in the market because she said all the teapots were far too expensive. At last she decided to buy a little brown pot, which had a chip broken off the spout, and was 6pence cheaper than the others because the spout did not look quite new. Nobody knew that the little brown teapot with the chipped spout was magic. The old lady hurried back home, and at tea time made a pot of tea with the new teapot. Just as she was going to pour out a cup for herself, knock, knock came at the door. Quickly the old lady popped the pot of tea in the oven and called out, "Come in." A kindly neighbour had called, as not seeing the old lady all day, she wondered if she might be ill. As she was about to leave, a funny pop, pop, popping noise came from the oven. The mean old lady opened the oven door in alarm, and there was the little magic teapot with the lid pop, pop, popping up and down, and blowing clouds of steam through its spout. "Oh," said the nice neighbour, "are you about to have your tea? I would love a cup with you. It is so very cold outside." Now the mean old lady just hated to give her tea away, but she could not pretend she hadn't any when the full teapot was pop, pop, popping away, and so she poured the neighbour a cup of tea. The very next day that nice neighbour called with a homemade sponge cake. "This is for you, dear lady, for your kindness in sharing your tea with me," she said, and the old lady was very surprised, and very pleased too. Each time the old lady made a pot of tea and hid it in the oven, that magic little pot would start pop, pop, popping and blowing steam. Soon the whole village was talking about the little brown pot. The old lady had by now given many cups of tea away, and made a lot of friends too. Her neighbours would often call with gifts of cakes, cream and honey, which they would share with the old lady over a nice cup of tea from the little brown pot. It was funny that the old lady had never known how happy it made a person to be kind to others until she bought the little teapot. She was never lonely or miserable now, as she had so many friends. Soon the little teapot did not have to use its magic, because the old lady never tried to hide it in the oven, as she now shared her tea with her friends. And very happy she was. If ever she tries to get mean and miserable again, I know the magic teapot will pop, pop, pop every time she tries to hide it in the oven. But I am sure she will never be horrid again. Aren't you?